The bank fell silent the moment the check touched the polished marble counter. Marcus Johnson, a hardworking black single father, had spent 15 years building a logistics company from a single delivery van into one of the fastest-growing transportation businesses in the state. He wasn't wearing an expensive suit or a luxury watch that day. Instead, he wore a clean blue work shirt and jeans because he had come straight from helping his drivers after an early morning emergency. Beside him stood his 8-year-old daughter, Maya, clutching his hand tightly. She smiled proudly because her father had promised that after depositing the $5 million payment from a newly signed government contract, they would celebrate with her favorite ice cream. Marcus handed the certified check to the bank manager with a polite smile. The woman glanced at his clothes, then at his skin color, before looking back at the amount. Her expression immediately changed. Without checking the account, without verifying the documents, she laughed loudly enough for nearby customers to hear. "There's no way this belongs to you," she said coldly. The lobby became uncomfortably quiet as people turned to watch. Marcus calmly explained that the funds came from his company's newest contract and offered every supporting document she could possibly need. Instead of listening, the manager rolled her eyes and called security. Maya squeezed her father's arm, frightened by the growing attention. Marcus remained calm because he had taught his daughter that dignity was more powerful than anger. The manager looked at the check again, shook her head, and in a shocking act of disrespect ripped the $5 million check clean in half. Gasps echoed across the bank as tiny pieces floated onto the marble floor. Maya's eyes filled with tears. Marcus stared at the torn paper for a moment, not because of the money, but because of the humiliation in front of his daughter. The manager crossed her arms and loudly declared that people like him shouldn't waste the bank's time with fake checks. Several customers quietly began recording with their phones, sensing they were witnessing something unbelievable. Marcus slowly took a deep breath and said only one sentence. "You'll regret judging someone before learning who they are." At that exact moment, the elevator doors opened. A sharply dressed executive stepped into the lobby surrounded by assistants. He froze the instant he recognized Marcus. His face shifted from surprise to concern as he hurried across the floor. The entire bank watched in confusion when the executive extended both hands and respectfully said, "Good morning, sir. I wasn't expecting you today." The manager's confident expression instantly disappeared. She had no idea that Marcus wasn't just another customer. Years earlier, Marcus had quietly invested in several regional businesses, including the very banking group she worked for. While he rarely visited branches personally, the executive board knew him as one of the institution's largest private investors and a respected businessman who preferred staying out of the spotlight. The executive looked down at the torn checks scattered across the floor and then at the frightened little girl hiding behind her father. His voice became serious as he asked, "Who did this?" The manager suddenly realized that the man she had publicly insulted was someone her own bosses treated with enormous respect. Her confidence melted into panic. Before we continue, if you enjoy emotional stories about justice, family, and unforgettable moments where kindness defeats prejudice, make sure to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you never miss our next inspiring story. Marcus gently comforted Maya, assuring her everything would be okay, but deep inside he knew this day would change far more than a damaged piece of paper. It would expose character, reveal hidden truths, and test everyone inside that bank. The executive quietly asked Marcus if he and Maya would join him upstairs in the executive conference room. Marcus nodded, but before leaving, he glanced back at the manager, whose hands were trembling. She suddenly understood that respect cannot be measured by appearance, and first impressions can destroy careers in a single careless moment. Inside the executive conference room, the atmosphere was completely different from the tension downstairs. Fresh coffee was served, Maya received hot chocolate and cookies, and the executive personally apologized to both father and daughter. He explained that the bank maintained digital records of every certified check, meaning the torn document could be instantly replaced. The money had never been at risk, but the damage to the bank's reputation certainly was. Marcus listened quietly, never raising his voice or demanding revenge. Instead, he spoke about something far more important. My daughter watched someone decide my value because of my appearance, he said. That's the lesson I'm worried about. Those words hit everyone in the room harder than any accusation. The executive immediately ordered a review of the security footage and summoned senior leadership. Within an hour, the bank manager was brought into the conference room. Her confidence had vanished. She apologized repeatedly, admitting she had assumed Marcus couldn't possibly own such a large business because of the way he looked and dressed. Marcus looked at Maya before answering. An apology matters only if it changes how you treat the next person who walks through those doors. The room fell silent. The executive announced that the manager's actions violated the bank's values and professional standards. She was removed from her position pending a full investigation, while mandatory customer respect training would be introduced across every branch. The executive also promised that every employee would be reminded that professionalism begins with respect, not assumptions. Later that afternoon, Marcus and Maya returned to the main lobby. The customers who had witnessed the incident quietly applauded as Marcus walked past. Several employees personally apologized, embarrassed by what had happened. Marcus smiled warmly, not because he wanted attention, but because he hoped everyone had learned something valuable. The replacement check was processed immediately, and the deposit was completed without another problem. As they left the bank, Maya looked up at her father and asked, "Daddy, why weren't you angry?" Marcus smiled and replied, "Because real strength isn't proving people wrong with your anger. It's proving them wrong with your character." Those words stayed with Maya for the rest of her life. Days later, the story spread across the city. People praised Marcus not only for his success but for the grace and dignity he showed during one of the most humiliating moments of his life. His transportation company received new business offers, community organizations invited him to speak about leadership, and many young entrepreneurs found hope in his journey from struggling single father to respected businessman. Marcus accepted every opportunity with humility, always reminding people that success means little if it isn't matched by kindness. As for the bank, it publicly apologized and introduced stronger policies to ensure every customer would be treated fairly regardless of appearance, background, or wealth. Marcus never celebrated the manager's downfall. Instead, he hoped she would learn from her mistake and become a better person. After all, true victory isn't watching someone fail, it's inspiring them to change. And every time Maya remembered that unforgettable day, she didn't remember the torn check. She remembered the moment her father chose dignity over revenge, proving that respect is earned through character, not appearance. If this story inspired you, don't forget to subscribe, like this video, and share it with someone who believes kindness, integrity, and courage can change the world.